Still watching Newsday. Yaba, one of Lagos' most historic and educationally vibrant communities, holds a unique place in Nigeria's development. From being home to some of the nation's oldest educational institutions to focus, or rather housing, the country's first filling station, Yaba's influence stretches across various facets of history, commerce and governance. Community has also produced generations of leaders, including Dr. Segun Oshile, whose lineage has played a significant role in shaping Yaba and Lagos State. His late father, notably, was the first Baale of Yaba, marking a legacy of leadership and service that spans multiple generations. To explore this rich history, we're joined by Dr. Segun Oshile, a veterinary doctor, community leader, and author of British influence, Footprints in the History of Yaba, Lagos. His book delves into the region's etymology, its role as a hub for education, and its unique contributions to Lagos development. He will also share insights on what makes Yaba a historically significant and culturally dynamic part of Lagos. That's quite... he just stopped there. It's good to have you with us, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
All right, so how would you describe the history of Yaba and how impactful is it to what we know as Lagos State today?
Well, I'll start by telling you that during the colonial era, Yaba used to be the hub for the elites, the middle class. So a lot of people were unaware of the fact that when the Europeans were in Nigeria, they lived in Ikoyi, and all the educated elites all lived in Yaba, the likes of Rotimi Williams, Ojukwu, Nnamdi Azikiwe, and a host of others. So many notable families lived in Yaba. And then beyond that, we have so many historic places like the cemetery, the Aton Cemetery, which has the victims of the Second World War, was established in 1855 and is still existing. We have the School of Health Tech, which was established in 1927. We have Yaba Tech, which used to be Yaba Higher College. We gave birth to University of Ibadan, was established in 1934. And then we have Unilag, 1964. We have Queen's College, 1927. And then a host of other places. Currently, Yaba hosts about 5 tertiary institutions, over 30 notable secondary schools and primary school. The first secondary school in Lagos is established in Yaba, Methodist Girls High School. Then it used to be Westland College. And then in 1895, the name changed, and in 1942, it changed to Methodist Girls High School. We have so many other notable institutions, so many notable places in Yaba, and perhaps if time permits us, we can go on and on regarding the historic background of Yaba.
I love the fact that you're taking us down memory lane, and especially looking at the fact that the Nigerian school curriculum doesn't really give priority to history as we have it right now. And so it's good to have this kind of books, to take us down memory lane. But I'd like to know what inspired you to write the book. And also, as a veterinarian and author, how did your background shape, what you put into the book and how you came up with the book?
Well, in the introduction, my late father was the first Baale of Yaba, and he had a wealth of information. He grew up, my great-grandfather grew up in Yaba, likewise my grandfather, and they were top community leaders in Yaba. And then after his demise, I found out that there was paucity of information, because most people come to meet him, even scholars, when doing PhD work, their masters, they want to know about Yaba. He just goes off his head telling them historic places, and then they take notes and all of that. But after his demise, all of these things were not documented. So I found out that there was paucity, and I needed to put this thing together for future.
So how did your background, shape your research and writing the book?
Well, as a vet, in vet school, you're always doing research work. You're always having seminars. So first off, I started by doing oral interviews. So I had to interview octogenarians to find out what was Yaba like in those days. And afterwards, I took a journey to University of Ibadan, the National Archives, to go extrapolate information from the archives on Yaba, after which I proceeded to the United Kingdom the British National Archives in Kew Gardens to still get more information. So when I was able to nexus the information I got orally with all I have documented, I felt it was right for me to put a book together. And then I also did this under the tutelage of Professor Olukoju, who is a renowned professor of history in Nigeria.
So, what has been the response towards this book, and what are your target readers? And can you also delve into the challenges you had to go through while putting all of this together?
Okay, so the challenges first. I found out that there are no records. Even I started this by going to the local government, and I found out that there was nothing in the archives of the local government. Even the staff there, because they have to, some get retired, some get posted, they were not even abreast of a lot of things in the library. So I proceeded to meet the Olu of Iwaya. He's late now. I met the Olu of Iwaya, who was able to give me a lot of information. And then at that point, his son, who is the current Olu of Iwaya now, was also in attendance in that meeting. And they were able to give me a holistic background of some communities in Iwaya, looking at the traditional and cultural heritage of Yaba.
Well, you talked about Professor Olukoju, who eventually wrote the foreword of the book, as I found. But how did the British colonial legacy influence the cultural, social, and economic landscape of Yaba? And also, I'd like you to elaborate on that name, Yaba, how it came to be.
Okay, so I'll start with the etymology of the name, Yaba. So there are two schools of thoughts. The first is that Yaba is a Yoruba word which stemmed from the word Maya Laba, Mayaba. So people coming from the interland in those days, coming from Osun State, Ogun State, coming to trade at the marinas, they come through the coastal way, that's Oto. So they go on the water to marina to do their trade and all of that. So Yaba was more of a farming and hunting area, and they had a lot of traditional herbal work. So when they get there, they had little huts where people could stay over the night. So over time, it became a slang. They said, Maya Laba, just as Molue. Molue, people don't really know what it means. Molue actually was a word, an English word, molest. Wow. So during the British colonial era, there's this normal joke because there were limited transportations in those days. So people go through the windows and jump in and all of that. So they ask, hope you're not molested, hope you're not molested. So over time...
I was going to ask, maybe what about Bola Kaja?
Yeah, so the Molwe word was nomenclated.
Molwe. Like, what's the connection?
Molested.
Molested and Molwe.
So they couldn't pronounce it, right? So there are so many other names that I had to get the etymology and then how it came to be.
All right. Earlier you mentioned the fact that, as part of your research, you had a vacuum when it comes to getting information, especially sources from the local government. Do you think your book has filled that void regarding information for future readers?
Yeah, for future readers, I think my first edition has. I'm looking at the second edition because after the first edition, I was able to meet a lot of people who lived in Yaba and then who were like, oh, this is missing from the book. They read it and then it was intriguing. A lot of them were not even aware of a lot of things. For example, Herbert Macaulay we have today is a synergy of 5 names.
Wow.
In 1954, we didn't have it as Herbert Macaulay. We had it as Bradley Avenue, King George V. We had Stratton Avenue. We had Moore Road and then Higher College Road. So we have 5 different streets that were merged to make Herbert Macaulay. So it's the same with Murtala Mohammed Way. Murtala Mohammed used to be Denton, Clifford, and then Prince Edward Avenue.
I think it will be safe to describe you as an encyclopedia of facts when it comes to, history of Yaba. But I'd like you to tell us, how did that place, Yaba, transform from being that Abba, the local community, to becoming developed society where you have different industrial estates and all of that?
Yeah, so I'll go back to your initial question, which I skipped, the British influence. So that is it, the British influence. So there was no more space on the island when they were going to start the railways. So when the construction of the railways started, they were looking for areas in which they could house the contractors. And then when they started to do their expedition, they found out, oh, this area is really good for us. So they started, and then Yaba remains, and I stand to be corrected, one of the best planned area we have in Nigeria today. Yeah, and then the structures are still there. The
You
road
think that
mapping,
was due to the influence of the British?
yes. Yeah, as far back as 1898, Yaba had running water. We had street lights. And then these are documents. I had all of those things referenced. So it's not just an oral, so people who are researchers can also make reference to it.
All right, so Yaba of, the yesteryears and today, what do you think has changed?
A lot has changed. Yeah, so like Yaba has lost its prototype structure where you have setbacks, you have car parks, you have areas where you can park your car. Because of the competition for space right now, a plot of land that is 600 square feet, which is supposed to house technically 2 families, is housing about 18 families. So there is pressure on the social amenities. So we have limited hospitals to take care of them. We have limited even security because it's still the same number of hospitals we had 30, 40 years ago, we still have. And then you find out that the amenities are at a arithmetic progression, whereas the population is at a geometric progression.
So as a son of the first Baale of Yaba, how do you think that has helped, especially change your perspective of how you look at, the community and the area, and also why you wrote this book? And also I'd like to know what you think the history and cultural heritage of Yaba, how you think this history and cultural heritage can be preserved, especially for the future generations.
Okay, I'll start with the second question. In some Western world, there is what you call listed buildings. If you go to the UK, there are some structures that were built as far back as 1748. The exteriors are not altered. You can alter the interior, design it to whatever you feel like, but the government should have collaboration with house owners so that we can preserve some of these houses. Some of the houses in Yaba are over 120 years old. But right now, because of the value of land, these structures are going down. Regarding the preserving the culture, and then the way Yaba is right now, there has to be a lot of orientation. A lot of things need to be done by the government, most likely at the local government level, so that we can at least make Yaba what it used to be in those days. It might not be the way it is because of the population and then the advancement in technology, but we should be able to at least know that Yaba strictly is a residential area, and then the area that was mapped out as a commercial area is where you have the commercial avenue. So Yaba had its own master plan, but right now the master plan has been distorted.
Eroded. But you've not talked about how your background, especially being the son of the first Baale of Yaba, shaped your approach to writing this book.
Well, it gave me a lot of influence because I was able to knock on any door. So I go to some person, they don't know me, they never heard of me, and I just said, my name is Oshile. Oh, I know your father, I know your grandfather, please come in. And then it made it easy, made the ride easy for me. So it was a seamless effort for me having to get information because a lot of people didn't know my motive, and people wanted to be very careful when I asked questions about, oh, who owns this property and all of that, and they're like, what do you want to, why do you need it? And I tell them, oh, this is the reason. Oh, I'm a Balian, okay, so I was able to, people welcome me with open arms.
Okay.
That's a nice thought, Dr. Segun Oshile, author, British influence on Yaba's history. I'd like to thank you very much for your thoughts on those issues, historical perspective, and of course, other narratives as well. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you very much.